To reach Mango Cay, you glide over sapphire water until the sea turns the color of melted jade, and then you notice, just beyond the limestone dock where a steel band is trying to play Don't Stop Believin', a lone radio antenna jutting from the crown of a coconut tree. The staff tells visitors it's for weather updates, but locals know better. It is the broadcast tower of Pico P. Peppercorn, an iridescent blue and gold macaw who, 5 nights a week, hosts the most infamous gossip show in the tropics, Squawk Talk FM. Pico did not set out to become an avian shock jock. He arrived on the island as a stowaway on the shoulder of Captain Rico, a semi-retired pirate specializing in counterfeit rum. When the customs officer confiscated the contraband, Rico fled. But Pico, tempted by the karaoke wafting from the resort bar, decided to stay. He discovered quickly that tourists talk in front of parrots the way they talk in front of throw pillows, loudly, lavishly, and as if nothing alive were listening. Within a week, his head was full of whispered affairs, disastrous diets, corporate espionage, and the sort of vacation confessions people make only after 3 daiquiris and a sunburn. All that sizzling knowledge needed an outlet. So Pico scavenged a weather-beaten shortwave set from the marina's junk heap, strung a cable through the palms, and declared himself the beak of the people. He timed his maiden broadcast for midnight, when the resort Wi-Fi crashed under the weight of guests uploading sunset selfies. His opening line, "Good evening, Mango Maniacs. Ready for some ripe, juicy secrets?" was a thunderclap in the sleepy radio ether. Half the night guards spat out their coffee because nothing scrambles your sense of reality like a parrot who sounds exactly like a 1980s FM disc jockey. The format was simple. Pico perched, headset askew, repeating the best morsels he'd overheard that day, seasoning them with impressions of the guilty parties. "Room 214, he crooned through reverb. "Someone's Spanx are duct taped inside the minibar. They're praying housekeeping doesn't discover the hostage." He segued into a reggae version of Tainted Love, performed solely with beak percussion, then added, "And to the gentleman who claimed he was a vegan until the Churrasco buffet, your secret lamb chop has gone national baby." By sunrise, a cult had formed. Staff hid transistor radios under towel carts. Yacht captains tuned in from the harbor. In the morning buffet line, strangers exchanged knowing nods because they'd recognize one another from Pico's caricatures. The honeymooner who sleep-yelled his ex's name, the influencer who face-tuned abs onto a rented pool boy, the yoga instructor who secretly hated Downward Dog. The resort's general manager, Miss Arlene Hartwick, was not amused. Arlene ran Mango Cay like a 5-star embassy where the national currency was tranquility. She believed gossip was a germ. Left unchecked, it multiplied and forced guests to realize their vacations were populated by other flawed humans instead of NPCs whose only job was to refill the Bloody Mary bar. So Arlene convened an emergency meeting. Maintenance, security, and the entertainment director were summoned to the conference room, where the air smelled of printer toner and passive aggression. "People come here for privacy," she announced, stabbing the table with a stainless steel letter opener. "A bird with a bootleg radio can't be shredding confidentiality like confetti at Carnival. Find that parrot, cage him," and she glanced at the humane treatment poster. "Encourage him to pursue a quieter hobby, knitting, meditation." Anything, meanwhile, Pico was soaring above the banana colada float-up bar, headset dangling around his neck like a rapper's gold chain, collecting dirt. A new crop of guests had just checked in, rolling suitcases across the sand with city slicker futility. He heard a hedge fund manager practicing his resignation speech into a shell phone. Another gentleman bragged to a buddy that he'd photoshopped his passport photo. "Because angles matter, bro." The buffet line alone offered an opera of petty deceit. At 11:55 p.m., Pico settled into the thatched broadcast booth, a hollowed-out lifeguard stand, booted the generator with a peck to the ignition, and cued intro music sampled from distant frog croaks. The light atop the coconut tree flickered on, red and mischievous. "Squawk talkers, it's confessional o'clock," he bellowed. "Wings outstretched. Let's open with the lady in the Seaview suite who told her boyfriend she was at a wellness retreat while chugging passion fruit margaritas the size of inflatable dolphins." Pico mimicked slurping noises. then jazz gabbed Margaritaville backwards. 30 yards away, 2 security guards tiptoed through the palms with nets. They wore earpieces that crackled with Arlene's orders. Capture bird, no witnesses, watch the beak. Yet every time they thought they'd cornered him, Pico predicted their approach on air. Coming up next, a shout out to Dave and Lenny, currently crouched in hibiscus bushes contemplating my future as wall art. The guards froze, spooked by the omniscient squawk. He's reading our minds, whispered Dave. Lenny suspected witchcraft. They retreated to the staff bar for medicinal rum. Arlene escalated. She hired Manny Delgado, a falconer reputed to have once subdued an ostrich with nothing but eyebrow intimidation. Manny arrived wearing leather gauntlets and a glare that could sand wood. He inspected Pico's tower, sniffed the breeze, and pronounced, "Bird's got chutzpah. I like it, but not for long." Manny deployed a decoy parrot, a bright red Amazon named Dolores, expert in flirtatious small talk, to lure Pico. Dolores perched coyly near the lagoon, chanting, "Nice feathers, stranger. Ever try polyamory?" Pico, however, had interviewed Hollywood publicists and recognized PR traps when he saw them. Into his mic he purred, "Lovely offer, Dolores, but I prefer dating outside my profession. Too much pillow talk ends up on the airwaves, you know." Listeners howled. Dolores, affronted, defected to the resort gift shop and spent the afternoon teaching stuffed animals to swear in Portuguese. With each thwarted plan, Squawk Talk's ratings soared. Tourists set alarms for midnight. Podcasts clipped his best roasts. A viral hashtag, Parrot Spill, trended globally. When a famous pop star visited under a fake surname, Pico slow-jammed her entire fitness routine, from clandestine burpees to smuggled donuts, and the clip hit 8 million views before breakfast. Pressure mounted. The resort's legal department faxed bird-sized cease and desists, though no one knew where to deliver them. Pico, in turn, devoted a segment to reading the letters aloud, substituting words like hearing after with blah, blah, blah. Arlene's final straw came one Wednesday when Pico revealed that the resort's signature sushi bar used glow-in-the-dark plates because the dishwasher was broken, not because it was immersive neon dining. Guests marched to the lobby, demanding refund. Arlene threatened to resign, then remembered she'd signed a non-compete clause that prohibited her from managing anywhere without palm trees for 5 years. That night, she stormed into Manny's quarters, where the falconer was teaching Dolores to quote Tarantino films. "We need scorched earth tactics," Arlene said, pacing. "I want that parrot grounded figuratively, literally, emotionally." Manny scratched his chin. "Bird's powered by attention, so starve him. If no one listens, he's a tree ornament with an attitude." "Excellent," Arlene said. "We counter-program. Midnight buffet, free rum punches, fire dancers. Give them a spectacle bigger than his chatter." The resort lobby blossomed into a carnival. Palm frond, confetti, conga lines, a chocolate fountain the size of a jacuzzi. At 11:55 p.m., steel drums thundered so loud the moon seemed to quiver. Arlene smirked. Who would tune a radio with this sensory tsunami outside? Inside the lifeguard stand, Pico surveyed the mayhem. For the first time, the island's soundscape eclipsed his own. Static crept into his frequency. Loyal listeners were stampeding toward free sugar. Pico swallowed. Was this what extinction felt like? He began anyway. "Hey there, Lonely Airwaves, Pico here, broadcasting to, maybe 2 sand crabs in the concept of entropy." He paused, wings drooping. Silence puddled in his headphones, as oppressive as overpriced sunscreen. But just before despair set in, a soft voice crackled through the receiver. "Long-time listener, first-time caller," it said. Pico jolted upright. He'd never opened phone lines. There was no phone. Yet someone had jury-rigged a signal. "This is Celeste," the voice continued. "I'm in room 609. I couldn't go to the party because I'm hiding from my fiancé's parents. They don't know we eloped yesterday. They think I'm still their little angel. I need advice." Pico's show had always been one-sided gossip. He'd never fancied himself Dear Abby. But something in Celeste's shaky confession tugged his pin feathers. He cleared his throat. "Well, Celeste, secrets weigh more than suitcases when you schlep them around paradise. Maybe it's time to unzip that baggage before it busts." Easy for you to say, she sniffed. You're a bird with plausible deniability. True, said Pico. Yet even I get targeted by net-wielding goons. Hiding's exhausting, kiddo. Celeste chuckled through tears. You know what? I'll tell them tomorrow. Thanks, Pico. She hung up. The exchange, though brief, rewired him. He wasn't just entertainment. He could be a feathered therapist with boundary issues. Re-energized, he pivoted his mic toward the resort square, where flames leapt from torches. Guess what, party people? I've got live callers now. And tonight's topic is truth. Let's bust lies like payatas. One by one, clandestine listeners phoned in, patched through a tangle of kitchen wires some tech-savvy bartender had secretly run to Pico's booth. A middle-aged dad admitted he'd lost the family's passports during beach volleyball. A college student confessed she wasn't attending med school in the fall. She'd joined a traveling ukulele troupe. Each revelation aired in real time, while Pico coached with irreverent quips and uncanny empathy. Out in the courtyard, the free rum mob thinned as curious ears cocked toward pocket radios. Fire dancers faltered when half the audience drifted back to balconies to listen. By 1:00 IMing, the buffet sat untouched except by opportunistic iguanas. Arlene stomped toward the tower, face crimson. She snatched a portable speaker, intending to blast white noise and drown Pico out, but the moment she tuned in, she heard her own name. Next caller, codename Boss Lady, Pico announced. What's burning your biscuits? Arlene froze. Manny, loitering behind her, mouthed, Don't. Too late, her voice poured forth, brittle as broken seashells. They say leadership is lonely, Pico, she began, but no one mentions the insomnia. I can't remember the last time I sat on a beach chair without scanning for health department inspectors. Pico softened his tone. Arlene, darling, perfection's a mirage. You chase it, you miss the sunset behind you. She swallowed. For months, she'd battled the bird, convinced he was a PR nightmare. Yet here he was, airing her vulnerability without mockery. Listeners around the island leaned closer. Tell you what, Pico continued. Tomorrow, you meet me at the pool deck. Bring sunscreen and a beverage, we'll swap secrets. First one to laugh buys the next round. Arlene, half-dazed, whispered, Deal. She ended the call, tears threatening her mascara. Manny pretended to comb his mustache, hiding a grin. The following afternoon, the resort buzzed. The feud had flipped from predator-prey to potential buddy comedy. Guests gathered like spectators before a celebrity boxing match, but with better cocktails. At 3:00, Pico swooped to a table by the infinity pool, landing opposite Arlene, who wore a floppy hat and the expression of someone meeting her pen pal in person. Cameras flashed, but Pico ordered, No recordings. This summit is strictly analog. They swapped stories. Pico admitted he'd once impersonated a seagull to steal French fries from a toddler, an event that still haunted his conscience. Arlene confessed she'd added an extra half-star to the resort's online profile before the inspectors officially reviewed it. They laughed until sunblock streaked like war paint down Arlene's nose. A piece of cord emerged. Squawk Talk FM would go legit. Pico could broadcast from the resort's rooftop studio, formerly the janitor's closet, under one condition. He had to obtain consent from future gossip subjects or disguise identifying details. In return, the resort would advertise him as its exclusive nighttime truth teller, turning former liability into quirky amenity. Legal drafted a good behavior clause stipulating no secrets about guests under the age of 21 or currently experiencing intestinal distress. Pico agreed, though he insisted on retaining editorial control and a year's supply of macadamia nuts. Arlene countered with cashews. They settled on a mixed nut medley and unlimited seltzer. The redesigned show premiered with fanfare. Pico opened, Good evening, Curiosity Club. Tonight, our guests are volunteering their own juice. Think of it as karaoke for your conscience. He brought on Celeste and her new in-laws, who all hugged after a live-on-air reconciliation that concluded with the mother-in-law suggesting matching dolphin tattoos. The hedge fund manager came clean about quitting. He received 3 job offers within hours from listeners impressed by his newfound honesty. Even Manny called in to confess he'd always preferred parakeets to falcons, but stayed in the falcon gig for the macho mystique. Tourists loved it. Each night, a sign-up sheet in the lobby filled with would-be confessors eager for 15 minutes of therapeutic oversharing and the souvenir "I squawked on Squawk Talk" visor. Pico's ratings eclipsed regional weather reports, and a mainland publisher offered him a memoir deal provisionally titled 50 Shades of Feathers. But the greatest transformation occurred off-air. The resort's vibe mellowed. Strangers greeted one another with affectionate teasing instead of side-eye. Secrets, once hot potatoes, cooled into common ground. The swim-up bar installed a truth for shots promotion. Reveal an embarrassing anecdote. Earn a free coconut rum shooter. Management discovered that when guests felt lighter, they tipped heavier, and the pool filters found fewer contraband chicken wings. One evening, long after midnight, Pico watched the moon sprinkle silver confetti over the sea. The radio antenna hummed like a satisfied cat. He sipped sparkling water, a new ritual to preserve his vocal cords, and reflected on his arc. From eavesdropping scallywag to licensed concierge of candor. Below the booth, Arlene lounged in a hammock composing a press release about their upcoming podcast series. Manny trained Dolores to sing backup jingles. The island breeze smelled of frangipani and absolution. Pico opened the mic for a final thought. Here at Mango Cay, he cooed, we've learned that secrets are like sunscreen. You gotta reapply honesty or things get burned. So tell your truth, tickle your funny bone, and remember, if you try sneaking calamari from the buffet into your snorkeling mask, do it where I can't hear you. Or do it and then come on the show. Either way, we'll keep the waves air-conditioned with laughter. He clicked off, feathers fluffing in the warm night. Out on the balconies, transistor radios dimmed, but a collective grin lingered, even among those already half asleep. Because nothing says vacation like being able to own your weird, amplified through the stereo squawk of a parrot who once weaponized gossip and ended up weaponizing joy. And somewhere across the sea, Captain Rico, tuning in from his rusty sloop, saluted the sky with a contraband rum bottle. "That's my bird," he said, and the moon, big and complicit, winked back at them both.